Eric DeGatta here from One Human Performance with a tip for coaches who want to incorporate the clean into their program but don't know how to do it safely, or as well as don't know how to teach it real well. Well, I'm going to show you a way to cheat that with a great drill that we do here called a kneeling cheat curl. And when we talk about the clean or the power clean, there's a lot of aspects that we need to consider in terms of why we're actually doing this in the first place. If you click on the link below in the post, you'll see an article I wrote about the clean to realize, is there really benefit and is really doing what I think it's going to be doing? Now, it could be a great exercise, but also understand that it is a highly trained skill. It's actually a sport, and I tell my athletes, if you're really good at it, you get a gold medal. That doesn't mean that every 14-year-old high school football player should be grabbing a bar and doing cleans on their first day in the weight room. So how do I transition that hip power that I'm looking for? And more importantly, how do I connect the hips to the hands, which is really what I want to do, and the reason why I think it became known as a quote-unquote football exercise, because it mimics so much of what we're looking to do when we get off the ball and get into somebody. So how do we do that? We do that with a kneeling cheat curl. So here's a great way to teach it. Now what we'll do is we'll set the athlete up. Now by going kneeling, we take the ankle out of it, we take a little of the complexity out of it. So now what we do is we're gonna set up where we're gonna have dumbbells at our side, and we're gonna sit back into the hips and then come up and through. So you want something comfortable underneath their knees. So get some padding, or at least have some towels that they can roll up and put their knees on. Now let's talk a little bit about setup. I'm gonna show you from the side so it's a little bit easier to see. We're gonna set up here and we're gonna tuck our toes up underneath us. That's gonna help us grab the ground a little bit, somewhat also limit our knee range of motion. If you have anyone that has had any sort of history of knee injuries, especially if they've had an ACL, this is probably a no-no, because you're not allowed to get that much flexion, especially in the early stages. We need to make sure they understand how to maintain a neutral spine, keep that arch in their back. So initially you might wanna just teach them, place their hand behind their back, push your hips back and load through your hips, and then be able to stand up and through. When we come up and through, we want to extend through our hips and not through our back. So we shouldn't come past this straight line. So we're just sitting back and punching our hips, tightening the glutes real fast so we end up tall. As we talk about with the kettlebell swing, you want to be like a nail. What I mean by that is if you try to drive in a nail and it's crooked, it won't go into the board. If I'm straight from my knee through my hip to my shoulder to the top of my head, I'm as straight as a nail right here. Now, when we get into the cheat curl, the cool thing about it is you're going to be able to use a lot more weight than if you were to just stand there and do a regular, muscle and fitness dumbbell curl. What I'm going to do is overload it, because that way I have to use my hips when I go through. When I grab the dumbbell, I'm going to grab with a neutral grip with palms facing each other. That's a lot easier on the shoulder, also a lot easier for learning. So I'm going to grab some dumbbells and place them here. I'm going to sit back and load the hips, and the hands are going to reach beyond the midline, or at least into the midline, to set up. From there, I'm going to punch the hips forward fast, pull it up, and roll it up so the dumbbells come up and my elbows are forward. You'll see the elbows flare out to the sides, which is not what we're looking for. We want to sit back, explode through, and we want that strong, fast, explosive breath. Roll it up so the elbows are forward, and that position is way easier on the wrist than the catch position. I could always tell when my high school kids were doing cleans in the weight room, because they all have the taped up wrist the next day. So I want you to get through, punch, and get there, and then just control it back and reset between each rep. Remember, when we're working for power, each rep is a separate violent episode. We're not looking to go rapid fire here. This is an aerobics class. We want to explode, come down, reset, explode, come down, reset.